I, the heavens embroidered cloths, in wrouth with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and the half-light. I would spread the cloths under your feet, but I, being poor, have only my dreams.
Yeah, probably around the plants, just give them a quick weed.
We used to live on 25 acres. We had just about every animal you can think of except for cows.
Probably started with my father back in 1982, and he was an organic farm. Well, he wasn't organic, he was conventional, and he saw an opportunity to do organics, and he started off doing that, and he was probably number 3 or 4, can't quite recall, to be certified organic in Australia.
I live in Ballarat. I have a partner. My partner has 4 children. I have my nephew living with me, and we're possibly going to have another 1 or 2 on the way.
Well, we've been buying from them for years now. We've been going to the Talbot market.
Before that, they were at a local market.
Yeah, that's
see their
right.
Stuff, and it was always seasonal, and they have different things like the heritage carrots and the purple carrots, those sorts of things, bok choy and things that you would get in. Everything was in season.
The farm consists, I've got one block which is 88 acres, one paddock is pasture, which is on the south side, and that's probably 15-20 acres. I've got some more flat ground, which is another 10 acres on a flat ground, which is on the west side, roughly. So that leaves us about 50 acres of vegetables, and more or less at the bottom of, we're on a bit of a hill. So, and at the bottom of the hill we've got our dam, which is our watering, which we use overhead sprinklers on about 10 acres, and then the rest of the planting or the crops are grown with drip irrigation, which I find's the bee's knees.
My dad manages the workers and all that. He sort of sorts them out in the morning and they do their thing, and then my dad does his thing and it's all sorted out.
The farm shop, it's just an honesty box system, so we put the veggies in the shop, in fridges, and people come in and they have cash on them, just coins and notes, and you pick out the veggies, the price is all there, they just add it up, put the money in the box in the corner. And that's it, basic and simple as it is, and it's the only way we can do it.
The colours are different, the texture and the flavour of the vegetables are different.
I grew up with mum and dad growing their own veggies, and to me it's more like that. It's not as shiny as the stuff in the supermarket, but it's got more flavour, it lasts longer. It doesn't seem to break down as quickly in the fridge as supermarket veggies. But just it's really the flavour and the things you can do with it. You can eat them raw as much as cooked, and it's really enjoyable. They're really good quality.
It's a real treat sometimes to go out to the farm. You don't know what you're going to get because it's not like a supermarket where they've got most vegetables year round.
I want to be like a farmer like my dad, so just trying to like take over this farm and just do what he's doing, like doing all different types of vegetables and have some cows, maybe some sheep, and just grow vegetables and have a healthy life.
It's definitely a lifestyle. It's not just a job. You come out here, you work hard in all the elements, rain, hail, shine. It can snow, it's cold, it's hot.
The flavour, people come back and say it tastes so much good. It tastes like what my grandma grew in her garden and grandpa grew in their garden, saying that it tastes like that. It's beautiful. It's got flavour. So I'm thinking that if it's got flavour, obviously there's some more benefit to it than just flavour. And we make sure there's all the inputs that I get soil tests done, so I make sure everything's there that the plant need. When you get a really good crop of produce and it's even going better than you could imagine, and you tend to visit that a bit more often than another part of the farm where it's not so good. So yeah, there's certain places around the farm that the crop's really going great. You tend to you seem to gravitate towards that crop a little bit more because it's growing so well. So it really depends on the crop that goes in the ground and where it is. So there's no real spot on the farm that's my favourite, but if there's a good crop, I tend to migrate to that more often than the rest of the farm. We nearly went bankrupt about 9 years ago. We were really hitting rock bottom. Wholesale was atrocious. We were selling and the costs were outlaying what we were getting back. So we were gradually getting in debt worse and worse every year. We were drawing more on the overdraft, extending the overdraft. And I couldn't see any future in doing wholesale. So we decided to do a little bit of do the farmers markets, and we found there's potential to do that. So we started doing the markets, and gradually over 9 years we've got ourselves out of trouble and almost debt free, other than running the costs of the farm.
Before you wander off, Mick, after those tomatoes are done, we'll get stuck into these beetroots. Yep. These are going to be pretty quick and easy because there's not a lot of weed in them. So these two blocks here. Yeah. Right, so that one's not too bad over there, but this one's fairly weedy. Right. But, I don't know whether to do them first. Wet.
Lobby? Well, that makes sense. Oh my god, that does make a lot of sense. playing one of my new games I downloaded yesterday.
Yeah.
Pokemon games actually, sister has.
We actually met online and took a bit of a leap of faith and flew to WA and met Steph and the family and
Been together ever since.
yeah,
Haven't left each other's side for more than 5 days at a time.
a lot of flights in between. Expensive flights.
Yes.
And then we got here and Steph moved here with the kids and a shipping container of all our stuff and here we are.
My body being sore as. Having mad blisters on my feet.
Real life's hitting you, hey?
We started doing organic vegetables, and that part of that time it was sort of laughed at a little bit, and you know wasn't a sort of the hippie fringe sort of side of it. So people weren't into it as such. Dad was doing it till, I moved up to Ballarat in 1993 with my girlfriend, now wife, Lisa, and we bought a small farm at Dunstown, 5 acres, and we started doing organics there.
I got some friends at school which aren't really farmers. They don't really know that much about farming. Try to teach them, but they can't really understand how hard it is to farm.
Because we want to get this done quick. We don't want to be here for days and days because there's so much happening out in the weed. Just a rough weed out of these. Becky's leave the small ones. Well, you can grab a handful, right?
Repetitive, heavy, constant walking, blisters, especially if you have the wrong shoes. You know, the different rain jackets you'll wear, depends if it's raining, hailing, snowing, if it's hot.
You need to have stamina. And you got to be stubborn. You got to have you got to keep going. You have on a farm everything sort of can work well, and then you'll have days where things don't go so well, and then there's the urge to throw it up in the air and go, well, I'll take the day off. Well, that doesn't happen. You just got to keep going, stumble on, get over that problem and keep going.
Easy at some stages, but at most times it's hard. At the end of the day, it's worth it. In the mornings, on the holidays, we have to get out, do weeding by hand, and basically do lots of jobs, trim trees, pick up stuff, drive tractors, which is fun, but also it's also hard. Animals are actually quite smart if you think of it. Well, they're actually helpful on the farm here because we let them into the paddocks and all that, and they sort of eat up and then they do their stuff on the ground and then it goes into the soil, and it really helps us, but it also helps the animals as well.
If you look back in the 50s and 60s, before chemicals come on board, artificial fertilisers and all that, where was cancer? It was unheard of, virtually unheard of. Now it's everywhere, and I put it down to processed foods. I was talking to a cattle farmer, and he was saying that he never had to worm his cattle until they started using artificial fertilisers. So when they started using artificial superphosphate on their pastures for their cattle, bang, they had to use a chemical to kill the worms in the cows. So isn't that saying something? So if it's an organic system, you don't have that sort of problem. And I've got cattle here. I don't worm my cattle. The cattle are the healthiest I've ever seen.
Every night when I finish work, I ice my arm for about an hour, and then I use an Intrex machine to help with the nerves and the tendons.
I get to see the struggles that she goes through, but at the same time, the most beautiful tenderness that she can bring towards 4 kids that, yes, she didn't give birth to, but treats them no different than if they were her own children.
I think it's the right thing to do for the environment, for the planet. It's a natural way of growing. It's the way plants should be grown, and they shouldn't be grown forced along with artificial fertilisers or using chemicals to hold them up in a sense. The greatest satisfaction is growing something naturally, and it's, there's no chemicals in it. It's got taste, it tastes great, it keeps for a lot longer, and the other factor is being with farmers markets, you get the feedback from customers, and that sort of keeps me going week in, week out. You go to farmers markets and you get 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people come up and say, this is the greatest stuff we've ever had.
It's a really good product because there's no concerns about the quality, there's no concerns about the process. It's as
You can
nature
go there,
intended.
you can see that they're not doing anything that you wouldn't do yourself.
Yep. So it's not a bad drive out there either, to be perfectly honest. It's quite a pleasant part of the Ballarat landscape to get out there in the foothills of Mount Warren Heap and be able to just look at the area as you drive out and get the vegetables.
I'm a computer illiterate. I can't use computers. My wife does the social media side of it, and she's a little bit lax sometimes. So we do have a Facebook page, and we do have a friend of ours that actually updates it for us. It's actually word of mouth, most of it, and it's the vegetables. Of course, if they taste good, if anything tastes good, they're going to pass it on to their friends.
When Mel got the job at Spring Creek, I was absolutely tickled pink. I love the whole process of organics. That was something that we used to do back on the farm, and we would have hubs and different suppliers would come and drop things off and people would pick it up. So when we were moving here, we were leaving all that behind, and to have Mel now on the farm working there, it's like a little snippet of bringing the old into the new and then combining like the two together.
Having livestock in your organic system is what it used to be years ago, when you had ma and pa and everyone was at home. Everyone had their, you had chickens for eggs, you had cows for milking, and you had your vegetables. They integrated through their paddocks. So I've learnt over the last few years that putting cattle through the paddocks after When we finish a crop, we put the cattle through, put electric fence up. They eat the residue, so they get rid of all the green foliage, poo back on the ground, and all the good bacteria from their poo goes in the soil and enhances all the bacteria in the soil. So it's one thing that you put fertiliser on the ground, it doesn't work unless you've got bacteria in the soil. So the more bacteria you've got in the soil, the more that fertiliser is changed into food for the plants. So fertiliser, you can put fertiliser on the plant, no bacteria, it's not going to do a damn thing. So you've got to have that bacteria in the soil. So the more bacteria you got in the soil, the better the plant's going to grow. And we found after 5 years ago, I think I did this. After we put cattle for a paddock, we found that when we put a crop back in, why is it growing so much better? Things were growing much better, less weed, because the cattle will eat all the weed. And first thing they do is they go through and motor along and eat all the seed heads off the weeds. They love the seed heads. So obviously they're eating all the seed for next year, so there's less weeds in the system. The plants are getting the benefit of that bacteria in the soil, and it's such a good system. So we now, most areas, we'll put the cattle back through, and they'll eat up the residues, and the ground's clean, so we use less tillage on the ground to get it right. So it's one of the things that you need to, I think, is essential for doing organic farming now, is having animals in your system of growing vegetables.
Work that out. Yeah. Also, with that big broccoli down there, we're going to disconnect some of those too. Over there, the big stuff, because some of it's... Yeah. But you know which ones are buggered, just disconnect those.
I think the kids would like it a little bit easier for dad and mum. Like myself, I work all the time, and I feel a little bit guilty out there sometimes. I'm working all the time. I think, school holidays, I should go off and do something with them a day. And then I think, well, I've got all this work to do. And then I think, well, there'll be another day, So sometimes we just got to bite the bullet and take a day off and go out with the kids somewhere and go that way. Lisa gets a little bit tired of me a little bit, I think, and puts up with me a bit. But anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
Yes. It is. You feel like you've actually done something for the day, but it is hard work. You go home with nothing left.
Is it
Nothing left.
Is it worth it because it's organic, or is it more of a personal sort of
It's
sense
more
of
of a
achievement?
personal sense of achievement, more of a challenge. Especially a lot of people here may not even finish a day.
Why?
I don't know. Some people will finish, they go onto the lunch break and they will never come back. Or they'll leave at the end of the day and you'll never see them again. Very few people actually, if they make it through a week or two, then you know they might stick.
It's something in you that makes you want to do that. It's sort of spiritually, if you want to call it, that you want to do it.
Well, grab a handful, alright? But don't get too carried away from it.
If you're had a farm and you want to go organic and it's been a conventional farm and you use chemicals on it, probably the very first year and you don't use chemicals and you want to go organic, it's like Armageddon. The bugs are going to come in and they'll destroy just about everything for a year or 18 months. It's just the system trying to get back into order. So you're going to have a lot of pests come in until the good bugs breed up, like lady beetles and that come in, and you get a harmony and a balance. So the very first year is going to be the hardest to do organics.
This year should be a pretty big year for us.
Yeah.
I think if I play my cards right, I think we're supposed to be getting engaged this year. And then...
If you play your cards
If I
right.
play your cards right. Obviously, we're just going to save up for IVF. And we're going for one, but sure Steph won't mind if two happen.
Okay, so maybe one of us is going for one and the other one has said we're having two.
So we'll see how that goes. And
A wedding.
in the future. And obviously all the joys more children bring.
Yeah.
And well, we've got Travis, my nephew, living with us at the moment, and he turns 18 in the next couple of weeks, and becoming a young man and trying to get him his license and helping him with his independence for the future.
And his schooling.
And his schooling, so that's a big part of us wanting to help him achieve his dreams.
But I think our biggest dream is getting back to the land, building our own house.
And so we've been looking at property to get a couple of acres and create, I guess, our own little mini hobby farm, and for the kids to have the land and to have a real place called home that we have built and grown ourselves.
Sorry? Go and get it. Just be careful with the hose. Oh, you might want to. You can hoe it, do it yourself, Mick. You're right by yourself over there. You're not going to cry by yourself, are you?
Charlie, my youngest, he's 13. He's pretty keen to get out and do something, and I've had him on the tractors doing some tractor work, and he'll mow the lawn, and he's continually asking, "What can I do, Dad?" So it was like me when I was young too. I was always asking my mum or dad what to do. So he's probably content to do farming. So he thinks a little bit too big though, because he's going for he wants to buy the big tractors and all that. And I thought, well, when you get your farm, you can buy your own tractors, because I said they're too expensive.
Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and the half-light, I would spread the cloths under your feet, but I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams.